Well, tough day.
You know what? Defensively, I didn't feel like we were very sharp at all. We didn't communicate very well. We took 2 pre-snap penalties and 2 post-snap penalties. So we had 4 penalties and a half of a game's work. So that would put us at 8. So that's not good enough.
Yeah. Well, tomorrow's a big day.
Yeah, I mean, we need to come back tomorrow and polish up. We had a good day of practice. We've lifted 3 times this week, so we should physically be, stronger and ready to play.
Yeah, 14 sacks in the last 3 games. What do you think the biggest difference is with the pass rush?
I just think finishing plays and knowing what our strengths are and not just running around blocks. We're trying to make it more physical on the offensive line. And, we've got to, we're big and we're physical. We need to go through people.
Yeah, and when it comes to the run defense, are you getting out physical, or the blocks getting to the second level too easily? What's the
Yeah, that's a good question. We've studied on it this morning. I mean, I think consistency is the key, and then, like I say, even today, I mean, there again, we'd look good on one play, and then the next play we'd be out of our gap. So we've got to be more disciplined, be in our gaps, and got to fill downhill and get off blocks.
Yeah. Offensive line's played really well the last couple of games. What do you think the biggest difference there is with their play?
Well, I mean, we started putting the pads on 3 or 4 weeks ago, and you can say, well, that's the lightning rod for them. I think it's just a matter of they've decided to start coming off the ball and moving around, because we never had pads in Montreal the whole time I was there with Don Matthews, and we always had a good running game. So. But it is an attitude. The guys have done a great job of coming off the ball the last 2 weeks.
And they seem to be mauling the opposition, especially in the run game. They are really getting after the front 7.
Yeah, I mean, Ottawa does a great job though. Their front 4 and their linebackers are as good as you'll see, and so we'll have our work cut out for us Sunday.
Good to see Dane Faithfull back out here. I was thinking the fact he didn't sign another place kicker probably meant yesterday was more maintenance, but good to see Dean back out.
Yeah, it was. He twisted his ankle the other day, and so we'll just have to see. Hopefully he can do what he needs to do.
So you talked a little bit about Ottawa's defense. Offensively, what does your defense have to look out for when facing Ottawa?
Well, number one, unfortunately, they run the football really effectively. They've got 2 really good backs, and they've got a couple of really good fullbacks and tight end body types. They've got tough receivers that block out on the perimeter, and then Kahari does a great job offensively.
And talking to Nyles, he talked about really the success the defense has been. Everyone's trusting each other. Everyone's doing their job out there. He said, basically, everyone's trusting, staying there, and knowing what they have to do.
Yeah, well, that's the key. I mean, we've played good defense at times this year, and then all of a sudden we'll give up a play because we either don't have a zone defended, or we don't have a man covered, or we don't have a gap covered. And the great defensive teams, they don't do that kind of thing. They communicate, they get the strength call, they do all the things necessary to play great defense, and that's kind of where we're hoping to be.
And it's trust too, trust your teammates.
No doubt. I mean, you got to be able to trust the guy next to you that he can draw up the defense as well as you can.
What's the difference these past 2 weeks, Chris? I mean, 0-8 start to the season, and then all of a sudden you're putting up 22-0 leads over the top team in the division, and then coming up with a win.
Well, I mean, that 22-0, it didn't really help us that game. Still ended up in the same result. We, the last, we have done some good things, but, we played, pretty good football in the first half against Toronto, if I remember correctly. It's a 1-point game. When we went to Edmonton, or rather to Winnipeg, a while back, and I think that score was tied at halftime. So we've played sporadic good football for halves, and then the other night was the first time that we did enough in the second half of a football game to go away with a win.
Has Tre surprised anybody up to this point?
No, I mean, Tre started for us, if you remember, last year in Hamilton. I mean, we know what Tre can do. I mean, it's no surprise. And even coming out of camp, it's not like his numbers were that far behind what Taylor had. I mean, Taylor played great football, for 10, 12 days during camp, good as anybody I've seen. And so Tre's done a real nice job of doing what we've asked him to do. He's certainly a great athlete, not a good athlete, but a great athlete. So they have to contend with his feet.
Is it just all the other parts also coming along over the weeks too that has gotten to this point, not just one thing?
Yeah, I mean, like I say, getting a couple veterans back doesn't hurt. We got Manny back, got 87 back. We got Tanner Green back, so we've got some guys that have played some football back in our roster, which certainly helps.
Just got to do it again here this week and at home, right?
Yeah, I mean, you know, Ottawa's a very good football team. They've played some really good football. You know, even the games that they've lost, they've come down to the wire. And so, you know, Bobby Dice does a great job of coaching his football team. He gets them ready to play. They play extremely hard in all three phases, and so the challenge is there.
Do you bring it up with the team, Chris? The Hamiltons, the Ottawas, the Calgarys they're the teams you need to show against?
Well, certainly. I mean, all of them are. You know, they all have three wins, just like, you know, we've got one. So I mean, they're the closest for us to be able to try to get where we want to go, which would be to try to shock everybody and get in the playoffs. And that's kind of what we've used as motivation to continue to fight and do what we need to do to try to continue to play football. All right.
Perfect.
Thank y'all.